Welcome to our podcast, Rare Care. In this podcast, we aim to provide insights and support for the rare disease community, providing caregivers with guidance for those living with rare conditions. We'll navigate the rare disease journey together, one episode at a time. We'll be speaking with those who've been touched by TANGO2 related deficiency disorder, a rare genetic disorder caused by changes in the TANGO2 gene. Those living with this disorder can experience acute episodes of serious illness called metabolic crises. Neurological problems, including intellectual delays and disability in developmental milestones, can also occur. TANGO2 deficiency can affect people very differently. There is currently no cure for the disorder, but research is underway to better understand and treat this disease. So whether you're seeking support as a caregiver or here to learn about the intricacies of rare diseases, we're delighted you've joined us on this journey. Together, we'll navigate the challenges and triumphs of caregiving in the face of adversity. Special thanks to Horizon Therapeutics for funding this podcast and awarding the TANGO2 Research Foundation their #RareIsGlobal Advocate grant, enabling us to produce this podcast series and develop educational resources to grow our offerings in support of the community. Today, I'm continuing my discussion with Dr. Amanda Hull, a UK-based educational psychologist and parent to 13-year-old Sebby, who is a TANGO2 warrior. Amanda is a trainer and expert in mental health first aid. Our topic today is rare care, reducing distress and embracing well-being. And just a disclaimer that this conversation is not medical advice. Please contact your local healthcare provider to discuss the treatment and care options that are right for you and your loved one. That said, Amanda, thank you for joining us once again.
Most welcome. Most welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Amanda, I know that breathing techniques are a powerful way of dealing with stress. Tell me about that.
Yes, absolutely. So, being able to have a breathing technique is a really useful strategy because when you find yourself breathing quickly, or some might take it as far as saying hyperventilating, that's when your breathing rate goes up, your heart rate might increase. That might be due to feeling anxious or stressed or having a situation that feels very difficult. So your natural bodily response may be to speed up your breathing, to pump that blood faster around your body. So your rate may go up, your breathing rate might go up, your body temperature might feel hotter, you might feel a bit sweaty, and your thoughts might race up too. So you might find it difficult to take control of your thinking and breathing in a situation. So it's really useful to be able to have some strategies at your fingertips. Excuse the pun, because you'll see why in a minute, why I've said at your fingertips, to help you calm your breathing down so that you can feel ultimately more in control of a situation when you feel a bit calmer. So if it's okay, I'd like to go through a few strategies with you. So when I talk about feeling that your breathing rate is higher and your heart rate's gone up, you can probably picture a time when that's happened to you, when you have felt a bit anxious about something or worried, or kind of the heart starts going, your breathing starts going, and you feel like, I'm a little bit panicked and I'm not sure what to do with myself. I just need to calm down. So sometimes it's hard in the moment to think of these things. So if I give you lots of different strategies, it's not a one size fits all. So have a listen to them and think about what you would feel most comfortable with, and you could try out these strategies and see which fits best for you.
Sure.
And so at least you have some things at your disposal. So lots of people will use things associated with counting. I mean, ultimately, what we are doing is distracting our brains and refocusing and redirecting. So we need really simple strategies to do that, nothing too complicated, something nice and easy in the moment that can be done. So we don't need tools, we don't need things to carry around with us. We need psychological tools, things that we have at our disposal without any stuff. So a counting strategy. One that I quite like is thinking of go with the number 5. So I'm going to look around the room and I'm going to use my 5 senses and my 5 fingers and thumbs. So I'm going to think of 5 things and look around the room, 5 things I can see, and I will just quickly point out to myself 5 things I can see. So if you want to do that now, think 5 things I can spot. And then I might say 4 things that I can feel, I can touch. So can I feel my jumper, my sweater on me? Can I feel my shoes? Can I feel the chair I'm sitting in? Can I feel the ground underneath my feet? That's 4 things. 3 things that maybe I can hear. I might be able to hear different sounds. And it's okay if you can't quite get to 3, that's okay. But we just go 5, 4, 3. 2 things that I can smell, maybe. You might be able to smell 2 different things. And 1 thing that you guessed it probably that you could taste at that time. So you could use your 5 senses and think about 5 different things. And by the time you work your way through all of those things, you might find that your breathing has started to slow and calm, and actually then you can deal with the thing that was triggering that in the first place.
I
That's
love
one
it.
strategy.
It
Go on.
really feels like just engaging all of the senses in a very structured way brings us back to our visceral experience, which takes us out of the rumination and anxiety of whatever's happening in that place and really grounds us and braces us to be able to act.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's exactly what it's designed to do. So some people like strategies that use a shape. So if you think about maybe your favorite shape, let's go with a star, because I like stars. They're a lovely shape. Some people call it square breathing. So we could think about using our breath and calming our breathing down. So focusing directly on how we're breathing in the shape of a square or a star. So we might say, we'll go up the point of the star and breathe in, hold for a brief moment and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, and we would trace the shape of a star. Maybe you want to trace it on the palm of your hand. Maybe you want to visualize it. Maybe you want to draw it in the air or on a piece of desk in front of you, whatever it is. So you could breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And we are just taking control. We are consciously deciding, I'm going to slow my breathing down. And by doing that, our heart rate will slow and our thoughts will start to slow down as well. And then we were able to take control of the situation and how we're coping with it. Some people
Wonderful.
like to use the strategy of a body scan. So it's less scary than it sounds. So we might just think about, I'm going to scan my body from head to toe or from toe to head, whichever way you would like to consider it, and think about how each part of my body is feeling. So the way I do it, and it might not be the same for everyone. I imagine like a photocopier, like the light from a photocopier going down, and kind of scanning my whole body and thinking about how I'm feeling. So I'm going to take a mental scan, a visual scan of how my body's feeling. I'm going to start at my head. How is my head feeling? How do my ears feel? How does my nose? How do my eyes feel? I'm going to work my way. What's my mouth feeling like? What does my throat feel like? How's my chest? How's my arms? And we're going to notice what each of those things are doing. So I might notice what my hands doing. Are they tight and clenched fists? Sorry, I'll get my words out. Clenched fists. Do I need to relax? Are my muscles in my arms and my shoulders feeling tense? Do I need to move my shoulders away from my ears? Are they up here because I'm feeling tense? Do I need to just relax? Do I need to take the tongue from the roof of my mouth and relax myself? So I'm going to spot, as I move down my body, all the things that are feeling tense. Am I holding onto my stomach? Do I just need to just relax? Am I sitting too far forward? Do I want to sit back? I'm just going to notice every single aspect of my body as I work my way down. And actually what you will find is you probably will start to be able to physically and in your mind think, okay, that's a bit tense. I'm going to consciously relax that bit. And by the time you've done that, you should feel a little bit better and be able to have calmed a little bit.
Right. Again, it seems like a very meditative practice, rooting in the body and becoming aware of those parts, which grounds us there and then braces us for.
Absolutely. I mean, if anybody has taken part in meditation practice or yoga practice, that's quite a common thing to be doing is a body scan when you're as part of your classes. Certainly has been in classes I've taken in the past. So definitely, and it's very useful, and it's a tool you can take anywhere with you. You don't need anything special. You don't need any equipment, nothing. And finally, another good one, and I like this one, and it's one that you could use with your children as well, actually, and it's one that I use with my children at work. It's called balloon breathing, and I say that because children often like balloons, don't they? So a balloon breathing, and as you might want to do it now as you think about it. So if your breathing feels a bit rapid or out of control, or something that you think, oh, I need to take control of, you need to imagine your lung area as a balloon. So what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, and we're going to fill it in, fill it with air. We're going to put our hands on our stomachs, on our tummies, and we are going to breathe in through our nose. We're going to really fill out. We're going to make it as big as possible. We're going to imagine that we are filling a great big balloon with all of our air. So we're going to breathe in, fill from the bottom right to the top, and then slowly blow it out of our mouth. So we're going to breathe in through our nose, imagining a great big balloon, and then we're going to contract and release all the air from the balloon out of our mouths. We could do that a few times so that we can feel like we're really getting all of the oxygen into our lungs in all parts and everywhere, so that we can feel a little bit more relaxed. And again, it's just the art of taking control of it and distracting ourselves from those racing thoughts which are causing the increased breathing.
I can notice the difference in just 3 breaths. Excellent.
I'm really pleased to hear it. I'm really pleased to hear it. So, you know, maybe the balloon breathing would be one for you. You could bring that to your mind, and it's there at any point. People may not even spot that you're doing it, so that you know, it could be your thing. Sometimes, I just would like to quickly talk about the lens in which we view the world. So, a nice activity that you could do with a friend, let's say, you could both look out of a window. So go to a window and you look out of the window, and you say to your friend, what's the first 3 things that you spot out of that window? And they might say, I can see a car, I can see some trees, I can see that building over there. And I could nearly guarantee that you would spot 3 different things. So you are looking out of the same window, you'll have the same view, the same perspective, the same kind of image in front of you, but you're different people, so you have different perspectives. And that works for how we're feeling too. So how we're feeling is the lens in which we would view the world through at that time. So if you think about the activity of somebody else has a different perspective, you also have different perspectives at different moments. So if you're worried or panicked or stressed, your perspective, your view on the world will be different to when you're feeling relaxed. And so you might interpret things differently. So just I always like to keep that in mind and think, actually, my window on the world is through a stressed lens at the moment, or it's through a relaxed lens at the moment, or it's through whatever kind of lens you're viewing at the moment. But it is useful to keep that in mind so that you can say to yourself, actually, this isn't the only perspective. It might be different, you know. You know that phrase where people say, no, it might feel better in the morning, or have sleep on it and it might feel okay. And that's because you might have a different perspective at a different time on the same situation.
Sure. And I love that metaphor of the lens, because it's the filter through which we see things. So is that exercise that you just talked about around looking through a window kind of part of a visualization exercise, or is that a whole other category of strategies that one could use in
it's just a demonstration, really, in terms of how we could see things differently at different times in our lives, and to understand that other people have different views of things too. So it's a little bit of a fun activity that you can do with your friends, or even your children. You know, if you're trying to talk to about children about different people have different perspectives, or go and stand in front of a window and get them to ask them what they see, and they'll all say different things. It's quite it's quite a quick and instant win in terms of understanding perspective. So I mean, that's really just a demonstration of how we see the world, and the lens in which we view things is different at different times. Because when I take my glasses off, you look an awful lot different to when I have them on. So, you know, you could even be as basic as that and say, sometimes we need a filter, sometimes we need a lens to view better or differently. Taking a breathing exercise is a bit like putting your reading glasses on, and you can see better when you've done that. Yeah. You talked about visualization strategies there.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's quite good to use those. So once we initially talked about feeling calmer and having strategies to feel calmer, but I like to use visualization as well. And sometimes that leads into things like affirmations, and we might talk about that later on as well. But thinking about visualization is, I can see myself in a situation that I want to be in. And to do that, I sometimes think about finding things that I'm grateful for, to be able to put things in perspective a little bit. So it's a practice that lots of people use a lot of the time. What am I grateful for? I might write them down. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just think them through. And so that's a good thing. Sometimes I might write things down that feel a bit negative or a bit difficult, and it sort of puts a pin in it, almost takes the power out of a thought circling around in your head for you to feel a little bit better about it. Takes the power away from it. And actually talking to somebody else, saying it out loud, can be really quite powerful too. So if you have somebody that you can trust and that you have that relationship with, that you can say things to and express your worries to, then that's also a really powerful and useful thing. And we might talk a little bit about that too. There's the phrase, it's okay not to be okay. Well, it really, really is. It's okay not to be okay. And I would always say that nobody has it all the time. Nobody has it together 100% of the time. We all have things that we struggle with. We all have things that are difficult, and we all have better days than others. And it's really okay. You're not the only one. Other people feel that too. And sometimes it can feel a little bit lonely, can't it, when you're feeling a little bit out of control or things are a bit too difficult. But I mean, on the flip side of that, I would always say it's okay to be okay as well. So even if you are managing a particularly difficult situation, so even if you have a child that's really sick and has a rare disease that's not going to go away and that is quite hard to manage, but you're feeling okay and you're feeling good, that's all right too. And never feel guilty for that. That's all good as well. I think also what's really quite important is to acknowledge that sometimes you need that bit of time, and asking for the help and support to allow you to have some time is something that is quite a powerful thing to do. So I need to go for a walk, or actually I just need to go to bed early tonight, or I need to go and see my friend and have a coffee and just have a bit of time out. It doesn't need to be going on vacation, although some of us would like that, but it's not realistic, is it? But half an hour, an evening is much more doable, and it's relying on your support network to do those things, and thinking perhaps you don't need to take it on all yourself all of the time. Sharing some of the load is an important thing too.
I wanted to pause you there before we get into these sorts of things. I've heard that also pressure points can be very useful in reducing stress. Do you know about pressure points and which ones might be useful in a pinch, no pun intended?
Well, I'm not an expert in that, so I wouldn't want to misguide anybody in terms of what works and what doesn't. But I can tell you a little bit of the biology around that and why it works. So we have pressure points. You can have reflexology, or you can have pressure points in your hands, or various places in your body. And there are experts out there who do that. And there's probably a wealth of information online to help you source where. And I think you can do it for yourself on your hands. I'm pressing there because that's one I do know about, is if you're pressing in between the fleshy part between your thumb and your fingers in that part of your hand, that if you massage that and press into that, it's a stress relief. We have the stress hormone in our body. It's called it's not called oxytocin, it's called cortisol. So when we have high stress levels, our cortisol levels increase, which makes us feel not so good. It makes us feel more stressed. And the way to reduce cortisol is this lovely happy hormone called oxytocin. And when you can't have coexisting high amounts of oxytocin and cortisol together. So oxytocin is this really powerful hormone that we get that can help reduce cortisol and help reduce that stress. And there is a number of ways that you can increase your oxytocin levels in your body. One of them is through nurturing touch. So it's having somebody like hug you or just touch your hand, like rub your hands in certain ways. And like I said, I'm no expert in actually the position points of that, but that's why it works. That's why pressure points and massage and things like that really are quite helpful, because they're an oxytocin release. There's so many ways to get oxytocin beyond pressure points and nurturing touch, but that is just one of the ways, and it's a really important way. And we know for our children that's really important as well, especially medical children, because often they are having medical intervention and it's not nurturing touch. It's necessary, but it's blood tests and it's ECGs and EEGs and all of those kind of things. It's quite stressful. So if they, my son in particular just loves to hold your hand or loves to sit right next to you and loves to have his back rubbed and all of those kind of things. And that's because it's a nice release. Socializing, connecting, interacting, doing your hobbies, having time out, all of those things are an oxytocin release. So that helps reduce that cortisol. I hope that answered your question in some way, but yeah, I'm no expert in pressure points, but certainly that's the biology behind why they work.
Sure, that was helpful. So if we had to maybe continue further and summarize, like, what are the 5 ways to well-being? What would the answer to that be?
So we have had in the UK, there's been some research published, and it's called the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, and it's really widely used. And I'd like to share it because I think it's so useful. And there are 5 steps that have been published to help improve your mental health and wellbeing, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. So first of all, we would have number 1 is to connect. So talk and listen, and I think I've probably said it a few times. Talk to people, engage, connect with people. Feeling connected to other people is really important. That's another, it's an oxytocin release. It reduces that cortisol. So good relationships with people. So that is about connecting with your friends, connecting with your partner, connecting with a community. And with things like rare disease, like TANGO2, having a community with people that you understand what you're going through, when your immediate surrounding community won't understand that, because it's so rare that you're the only person in the next 50-mile radius that may be living with this. So actually using those online connections, using the family groups and those kind of things, and talking to people about what it is you're going through makes you feel less alone, makes you feel really connected with people, and that feels good. That's that oxytocin release that we need. So connect being number 1. So talking, listening, feeling, connecting to others. Be active is the next one. So I'm not talking about you need to go to the gym, you need to run 10 miles, you need to sign up to the next half marathon that comes up in your local town. You don't need to do all of those things. It's not about sweating and doing all of that. It's just about movement, and however movement feels good for you. So it may be going for a walk, it may be having a kitchen disco and dancing around in your bare feet with everybody in your household. It might be going for a walk, it might be going for a swim or something like that. So being active, so it will release those endorphins, the happy hormones, make you feel good, oxytocin as well. So whilst it is good for your physical health, but it's also really good for your mental well-being to have some movement in your life. So no need for drill sergeants, no need for pull-ups and burpees, but if that's your thing, great. But if you just go for a walk, just get, dance in your kitchen, just do something fun that you really enjoy. It doesn't have to be an arduous task. And when we talk about being active, some people immediately go, oh no, I don't want to do that, it's not for me. My trainers have cobwebs and all sorts of things on them. So it's not that, it's just movement is good for your body and it's good for your health too. The third thing that we would talk about is take notice. So remembering the simple things that make you smile. And this comes back to a little bit about the finding gratitude, and we'll talk about that again later. But remembering the simple things that make you smile. So pay attention to the present moment. What is it that I've really enjoyed about this walk? Did I love seeing? So an example for that is it's spring right now. The blossom is starting to come out on the trees. And I was on my drive home from work yesterday. I had a really long day and I was like, oh, I'm tired, work is long today. And I noticed all the cherry blossom is out on the trees and all the magnolia flowers are coming out on the trees as well. And I just thought, wow, how beautiful. The sun was shining. And I thought to myself, I really consciously thought to myself, how lovely. That's absolutely beautiful. That has made my journey home so much nicer. It put a smile on my face, and I thought, actually, that's something I was finding I was taking notice of. I wasn't in my own head constantly. I was looking outside whilst driving safely. I must add to that one. Maybe part of taking notice as well, not just about your environment around you. It's about listening to your thoughts and feelings and being aware of what's impacting that as well. So is what's around you impacting how you feel and how you think. And it can help you think about your perspective as well. It can help you, wondering about that lens. We go back to the window analogy, thinking about that lens in which we are looking at the world from. So can we notice how we are viewing it? Am I noticing that I'm a bit short-tempered today? And so I'll give you a quick example of that. So let's take a hypothetical day. I drive to work and there's a road closure, so I'm a few minutes late to work, and I don't like being late, so I get to work and I'm a few minutes late, so I'm a bit like the tension is beginning to build a little bit. And then I get to work and an incident happens and I have to fill in some more paperwork, so that kind of knocks out my whole day a little bit. And then a colleague calls in sick, so I have to cover that part of their job, so I've got a lot to do today. I end up leaving work a little bit late, and then I realised that there was no fuel in my car, so I have to stop as well and put some fuel in my car. I walk through the door and my teenage son says to me, "What's for tea? What are you going to cook?" And I go, "Rah!" And he gets it in the neck. He gets all the fury of my day. So ordinarily, that's a really reasonable question. What are we eating tonight? But my short-tempered lens, in which my stress had been building all day long, and he got it because he just asked the wrong question at the wrong time. It's good to take notice. Why did I react like that? Why did I respond like that? I can apologize for that. I could say, actually, I'm really sorry. I had a really stressful day. I didn't mean to shout at you. We're going to have X, Y, and Z for supper tonight. So it's about noticing, isn't it? And sometimes it can take a little while to notice how we're reacting, responding. The fourth thing is to keep learning. So embrace new experiences, seek out opportunities, find out new information. So learning new skills actually can really boost your well-being, and it can be really simple. It can be something like, I'm just going to pull out my drawing that I used to really enjoy. I'm going to sit and do some drawing, or I might just pull up an app and learn how to speak Spanish and increase my skills in that. Or I might try and learn something new in cooking. Let's have a go at that. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be all singing, dancing, or massive hobby. But if you want to take up photography and buy an expensive camera, that's up to you. But actually, new experiences, new things. Do you want to go check out a new art exhibition that's happening in the local town and see what that's all about? Or do you want to try going to a different type of theatre that you wouldn't normally go to, just to experience something that's really good for our mindset? And lastly, give. So this includes give your time, give your words, give your presence, acts of kindness. So it doesn't need to be donating huge amounts of money to anything. It's about engaging with others and like acts of being kind and supporting others. It helps you. It feels good to be nice. It feels good to make others feel good. So if you're, I would always say it's a really wonderful thing to do, and it makes you feel really good if you tell your friends that you appreciate them. So if you were to come off this, listening to this today and think, you know what, I haven't connected with, it covers a couple of the points, isn't it? Connection and being and giving. So I haven't connected with my friend Sophie today. or recently, but she was in my mind. So I'm just going to send her a message or give her a call and just tell her, hey, I was thinking about you today, and I just want to tell you that I really appreciate the way that you always notice this, or you always make sure there's time for that, or it feels good. And Sophie would feel good because you told her something really nice.
Absolutely.
So those are the 5 ways to well-being. There's a lot to remember, but I'm sure we can put something in the podcast notes about that, and you can find those.
Sure,
And a simple
absolutely.
search of 5 ways to well-being will find you what you need to find.
Yeah, it's very structured, and it feels like, having a structure to make us remember to engage with this would also be helpful, because these are all activities we can do almost on the daily, right? And I imagine it's something that builds up over time. It's again like a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it becomes, and the more benefit you get from it. So, do you have any strategies there around how to really build this into our way of being?
Um, well, I think start small, just pick something and just go with it, just have a go. It doesn't need to be anything that has major planning. It doesn't need to be anything that's going to cost you any money. Just have a go and see what happens, and just note how you feel when you're doing it or when you've done it. So just really tiny little steps, and building it up as you go. You don't need to suddenly say, well, I have to incorporate this, and this each day. Otherwise my well-being won't be good enough. And actually that's when sometimes we can get a bit of fatigue with trying to improve things, and that's no good for your well-being, is it? So if it's too stressful or too much pressure on yourself, then that gives you the opposite effect. So just small little bits each day, achievable, and then reflecting back. And I think we're going to do a session on journaling and how to reflect on these things. So check that one out, because it will give us some good ideas on how to incorporate that each day and how to be reflective on that. I always like the phrase to be reflective rather than reactive. And that takes a bit of work, and we don't always get that right. But I think if you can, in the majority of times, be a reflective person rather than a reactive person, you're more likely to have more positive well-being and be able to take control of the things that you want to take control of.
That makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit more about resilience and how we build our resilience muscles
So resilience feels like one of those buzzwords, doesn't it, at the moment? Like I hear it a lot. I work in schools with children, and resilience is one of those things that's mentioned a lot. What does resilience mean to start with? So resilience is the ability to cope, the ability to recover and bounce back from things that might be tricky. So what we want to do is we want to build our ability to cope and bounce back from things that are tricky. Excuse me. What I'm not saying is that we want to build people with Teflon jackets. We don't want people who are impenetrable to anything and nothing affects them and no emotions get them or anything like that. But what we do want to do is be able to recover from something tricky. So there's lots of things that you can do for yourself to be able to do that. So let's have a chat about things that we can do to bounce back.
Sure.
So our experiences do shape the way we interpret, the way we manage stress, and how easily we can respond to it. So the more strategies we have to be able to respond to and recover from, the better. It's a little bit similar to the 5 ways to well-being, and it sort of, you'll notice that there's a massive overlap with all of these strategies and techniques, but it's good to talk about them a little bit separately as well. So surrounding yourself with supportive and like-minded people is something that's really important, because it gives you that sense of, I'm not the only one. This experience I had, other people have managed it and other people have done really well, and I can ask them how they've done that. We can talk about how we both felt in that, connection and community, and that comes back to that 5 ways of connecting. Carving out time for yourself, again, comes back to the learning something new. Potentially, so developing a hobby or an interest. Did I always really want to have a go at, I used to really enjoy art at school, And I'll give you a personal story. Actually, I did really enjoy art at school, and I never really did it anymore after that. And then I was set a challenge, and I took part in a challenge a year ago to do a drawing once every day for 30 days. And for somebody who had hung up their paintbrushes and paints a long time ago, that felt a bit daunting actually. But I pulled them out of the cupboard and pulled out my kids' art stuff and just started having a go. And actually, I gave myself 10 minutes every day, till, or more some days, to just draw something or paint something. And it wasn't for anybody else to see. It was just for myself. I enjoyed the time. I enjoyed being able to exercise that creative part of my mind. And actually surprised myself. I surprised myself with the quality of the things that I was. I mean, it wasn't Picasso, but it was more than stick people, so it was all right. So that just felt really good. I just developed this kind of bit of a hobby, and my children took notes and they started doing it too. So we had this lovely time together where we were all drawing and painting, and it was really nice. So that's an example of something that I just had a go at doing, and it almost felt a little bit brave because I didn't want to feel judged, and it could feel a little bit vulnerable. And if anybody's ever read any stuff on from Brené Brown, the author, about vulnerability, it's really powerful stuff. So I'd recommend reading any of that at any point. So yes, I was brave. I did some art, and it was great. So there you go. So developing your hobbies and interests and carving out time for yourself, it's sort of two birds with one stone, really, isn't it? So you feel good about getting better at something and you've given yourself some time. The next one I think is really important in terms of resilience, and it's looking after your physical health. So that comes down to movement, but eating, and prioritizing yourself sometimes. So I know when you're a carer, and when you're looking after somebody else's health all the time, yours can be put to the back burner a little bit, and you might not always seek the medical assistance or advice that you might need. So do that for yourself, because you know it's good to feel good. And if you've got something niggling you, an injury or an illness, and you just kind of put it to the side, sometimes asking for help is a really important thing to do, and we don't always do. We're not always very good at that when we're carers ourselves, and that can get a bit neglected. So make sure you look after your physical health, eating, drinking, movement, all of those kind of things. Get outside. There's fresh air can be a cure for all sorts. Just a moment of outside, and actually outside in your favorite type of place to be. So is it in the trees? Is it in the city? Is it by the water? What is it? Where's your favorite place to go out and just breathe in that fresh air? Finding ways to relax, and that looks different for everybody. So, but building resilience is, I think you might notice a theme that a lot of this is actually just carving out time for yourself and doing the things that you like, increasing that oxytocin, reducing that cortisol, finding ways to relax. So it doesn't need to be a spa day. I mean, I wouldn't say no if somebody was going to say to me a spa day. I wouldn't say no, but it doesn't need to be that. It could be just watching a program on a box set with your partner, just catching up with them for a bit. It could be taking a bath. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be listening to your favorite band on with some music. It could be having a kitchen disco. It could be having a cup of coffee and watching the fish in your fish tank. Whatever it is that you find that you just slow down for a minute and relax and have that bit of time. And I think most importantly is be kind to yourself. Forgive yourself for things. Don't berate yourself for decisions you might have made, or things you thoughts you might have had, or things you might think that weren't good enough or weren't the right thing. Just be kind to yourself. We said in the last episode, don't say things to yourself that you wouldn't say to other people. And I think we are quite terrible at that, of being really quite harsh on ourselves and unkind to ourselves. So being kind to yourself and be really mindful of that. And yeah, journaling can help with that, and we're going to talk about that in the next episode. But yeah, those are the things I think are good for building resilience in yourself, that bounce back ability. So being able to recover, being able to bounce back, being able to feel better.
Wonderful. This has been such a rich discussion of so many tools, and I love how many of them feel like they converge and overlap, so that you can practice almost a wide range of things and get to the same end result. So thank
Yeah,
you again, Amanda, for all of your insight and wisdom. We're going to continue our conversation on journaling in our next segment. So looking forward to that conversation.
absolutely. Thank you. Just
Thank-
remember, it's not one size fits all. So find a thing that works for you and do that.
Thanks again, Amanda.